Hey Patriots, welcome back to the Progressive Playbook. I am your humble dealer, talking about the Knowledge Core, and we're going to start all the way from the beginning, the first few years of life. Not only is this the beginning of their knowledge journey, it's also perhaps the most formative. In the first few years of life, a kid forms over 1 million new neural connections a second. What children learn during this time matters, as well as how they learn. Preschool taught me that even though Elmer's glue is tasty, it isn't something you should be eating. But now I know. Unfortunately, great lessons like these aren't being taught across the land, as pre-kindergarten is not universal, like it is in many other countries like France, Sweden, and Finland. In fact, if you look at this chart from the World Bank in 2018, you'll see that many developed countries and several developing countries have a higher percentage of pre-K enrollment than the US. This is because a lot of American families can't afford to send their kids to pre-K, so making it universal would give all children access to high-quality learning environments in their formative years, regardless of family income. To address this, Joe Biden has proposed $200 billion in pre-K funding as part of his Build Back Better program. Ultimately, this plan was struck down, but the idea of universal pre-K remains popular, with over 70% support. So what does the data show? The Brookings Institute looked at over 70 studies on preschool since the 1960s, and they found these trends. Number one, teacher compensation is low in many programs, resulting in high turnover rate and less skilled teachers. This lowers the quality of teaching, especially when the kids can't form a bond and trust with their teachers over the year.
Ooh, that's bad.
Imagine telling little Alice, sorry your teacher left, bad economy, what are you gonna do? But it's okay, we got you a new teacher.
All right, you listen up, you little freaks. The fun stops here. You're gonna shut your stinking traps and behave, damn it!
Okay, but studies also seem to indicate that students who attended pre-K were more ready for kindergarten, especially among low-income, minority, and dual language learners.
That's good.
However, a lot of studies report a fade-out effect, where the initial gains of preschool fade away as they go through elementary school, as reflected by test scores.
That's bad.
But regardless of medium-term effects, somehow the gains are seen again in adulthood, as people who attended pre-K are more likely to pursue higher education and have better economic outcomes, and are less likely to get in trouble with the law.
That's good.
Though despite all these studies showing overall positive outcomes, there was a recent study out of Vanderbilt University in Tennessee where the authors were surprised to find that for low-income students who attended pre-K, by 6th grade they had lower test scores and higher likelihood of being in special education, getting in trouble in school, and getting suspended.
That's bad.
Can I go now?
So you might look at this and be tempted to swat it aside as just one study, like, oh, what was it, funded by for-profit juvenile prisons? But if we're approaching this scientifically, we don't want to swat aside data points we don't like, especially when this isn't just one study. It's perhaps one of the most rigorous study designs on pre-K. For one, they looked at nearly 3,000 kids, so it's a lot bigger than most studies. And furthermore, what a lot of other studies do is they compare kids who went to pre-K versus kids who didn't. But one really big factor is how invested the parent is in their kids' learning. So this Tennessee study is particularly strong because it factors that in. It took a pool of low-income families that were all motivated to send their kid to pre-K, and then did a lottery system to fill the pre-K slots. So they did a more apples-to-apples comparison of students only from this pool. So why did the study yield somewhat negative results? Dale Farran, one of the co-authors, thinks that the design of the preschools matters a lot, from class size to teacher training, to funding, to focus on instruction, to school location, even where the bathrooms are. Like, if you put pre-K classrooms in with older public schools, the bathroom is down the hall, and a lot of the day is spent shuttling large groups of little kids around, lining them up, and then they wait, and then they start fidgeting because they're 4, and then they're told to be quiet, and even reprimanded or suspended for doing normal 4-year-old stuff. She thinks this could cause kids to view school as a place with unreasonable expectations, which may be why they saw a higher likelihood of kids getting in trouble later down the road as well.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
Another recent study came out of Boston, which was similar in size and study design, but this time it showed positive results. It showed kids later in life were less likely to get in trouble at school, graduate high school, and go to college. So now it's important to look at the differences. Farran notes that the Boston schools had higher quality control, being from a city and not a state, more funding per student, and it was mixed income, whereas the Tennessee program was for low income only. She also points out that the more affluent parents are more likely to send their kids to play-based preschool programs where the focus is more on art, movement, music, and nature. So children are heard. They're asked questions that spark curiosity. For a really great program, we should look to Oklahoma. Now, Oklahoma is a very red state, touting one of the strictest abortion bans in the entire country, but it is also very progressive in its pre-K, touting the oldest and highest quality state universal pre-K program in the country. It meets 9 out of the 10 near benchmarks for assessing pre-K, including small classroom sizes, and requires all teachers to have at least a bachelor's degree. And on top of that, they pay their pre-K teachers a middle-class wage, about the same as their K-12 teachers. So the salary plus the fact that it's a universal program for all economic backgrounds makes it much more attractive for highly qualified teachers, and this results in more stability and less turnover rate among teachers. I think there's enough evidence to go forward with having universal pre-K across the country if they are high quality programs like in Oklahoma. I'm going to give the idea 4 stars. I'm docking 1 star just to throw a bit of caution to the wind on having more schooling. In the previous video, I discussed the book The Tyranny of Merit, where the author shows how an overly competitive landscape has created fear and desperation and pressure to succeed, which exacerbates class divides. When this is pushed to the extreme, the landscape can start looking like Hong Kong.
Carlson Chuan is only 2 years old and he's preparing for an important interview. His mother wants him to get into one of Hong Kong's top kindergartens to get a head start in life.
And to prepare for those interviews, these 2-year-old kids are enrolled in interview prep classes. Most of us can agree that is way too much pressure to put on a toddler. And I just worry that if we follow most of the world that is looking to expand pre-K to 3-year-olds as well, we are headed down that road. Maybe a bulk of the knowledge a toddler needs to acquire at that age isn't taught formally, but rather facilitated organically. Maybe we should just let kids be kids for as long as possible. That's the philosophy of Finland, which offers optional play-based preschool at the age of 6, because kids don't start formal education till the age of 7. Complete opposite direction from the rest of the world, yet has one of the best, most respected education systems in the world. How do they do that? In the next video, we're going to see what lessons we can draw from the Finnish system to improve our K-12 system. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out that one, and if you're trusting my voice, be sure to hit me with that LSB, like, subscribe, and bell, and I'll deal ya the next one.